Străinii spun despre noi că suntem o țară cu femei frumoase și inteligente.
Noi considerăm că România e o țară de femei senzaționale.
Întâlnește-le în fiecare săptămână la 121.ro live la radiolinks.ro. Bună ziua, dragii mei, bine v-am regăsit la o nouă ediție 121.ro live. Sunt Daniela Kammrath, live în studioul prietenilor de la Radio Lynx. Îl am alături de mine pe un bun prieten, Zan Perrion. Zan, welcome.
Thank you.
With your gracious approval, well, we're gonna switch to English because Zan is still mastering his. He's working on his Romanian. Cât un pas, cât un cuvânt. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. I know you're busy. You have an event tomorrow night.
Yes.
At Bordello's. We'll talk about that as well. I wanted for a long time to invite you since we've met, I don't know, 2 years ago or so.
Yes.
And since you gave me as a present your book, The Alabaster Girl. And I have a lot of questions in my mind, so interrupt me with your own if you want to. The reason I thought it would be interesting for you to meet Zan is because this show has been bringing you for the last 7 years amazing, sensational women that you've met. And occasionally we've brought you a man that makes a difference in our life or is trying to help the men in our lives. What I liked about Zan's mission, since he came to Romania and before, is that he wants to help and to support men in discovering the art of seduction, the romanticism, and all the beautiful things that totally melt our heart. So, Zan, you're Canadian.
Yes.
Where is your home?
My home's in Romania now.
Your home is in Romania. Wonderful. You've traveled a lot.
I've traveled, I've been traveling for over 10 years with just a carry-on bag.
Good.
And I've been, 10 years I've been a nomad. And now for the last 3 years I've been in Romania more than other countries. So I would say that I live here. But my family's still in Canada, so I go very often to visit my family.
What do you like about Romania? Be honest.
Yeah,
open.
I will be honest. I've traveled a lot and I've seen a lot of things. And there's something about this part of the world. My father or my grandparents are from Bukovina.
Oh, I forgot about that. You told me.
So we're very close to here.
So there is a connection.
So my DNA is here. I can feel it in the air and I like the people. I like the energy. So something about it keeps drawing me back here.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Where is the name coming from?
Perrion is stepfather's name when I was a kid.
Tell me what possessed you? What got you started to write The Alabaster Girl, the book that you call a journal?
Yeah, this is a long journey. I mean, like, I've always wanted to try and understand women since I was very, very young, and it's something I've always trying to understand the dynamic of men and women. And so I started doing seminars and lectures over 10 years ago, and it took me 10 years to write the book.
Wow.
Birthday to birthday. I started on my birthday and I finished on my birthday 10 years later.
When is your birthday?
December 14th.
And
and it was such a difficult thing to write because I was trying to put I started to write a book that was a how-to book for men, like a book. This is an instruction book for men, and I couldn't land that, and so it eventually became a book actually to women. It's a book about women, written to women. Now that's presumptuous. Like, who could do that? What kind of a man would say, "Hey, I'm going to write a book about women for women"? But that's what I did.
And did that make more men read it?
Yeah, because men want to sit in that conversation, right? They want to hear it. So I really wrote a book. I tried to capture the content that was written to women to describe to women why they respond to certain things in men and not others. So I tried to explain to women why they're captivated by a certain type of man. Because they don't know themselves, there's just something about him. So I tried to capture it in words. That's why it took me 10 years.
And I think it's interesting you're doing that from a totally heartfelt perspective, because there are a lot of psychologists that try to take that this relationship thing apart and explaining it in scientific way, or like, I don't know, case studies and
evolution,
so forth. Yes, and the way the chemistry works, and I mean more towards the science than towards the heart. But you approach it from experience and from what you've noticed from all the students and people you interacted with. You've spoke around the world in many places. What did you speak about, and with whom?
I primarily do speak to men. I've spoken to a lot of women's groups in the world too, but it's primarily to men. And like I said, the thing I've been trying to talk about the whole time is, where's the spark in men? Where's the greatness of their masculine beauty? And men all over the world are kind of, I don't know how to say it, they're kind of like not really fully strong, not fully, they're just kind of existing. And so we're trying to, what I've been trying to do all this time is say, for myself, because this is an instruction for myself. I grew up without a father figure, and so I had no idea. When I was 19, 20, I was insecure, I was lost, and I really liked girls, but I was terrible. I was needy, extremely needy, and so I did all this just to teach myself something. That's the whole point.
Needy is also a premise for like a failure relationship, because it totally unbalances the whole thing.
And it's all about me instead of like, what can I share? What can I put into the air that we both adore? You know?
How did you get to the understanding of finding out who you are, and thus actually being able to stay in front of, I don't know, 20, 30, 100 men and tell them, this is what you could do, and
Daniela,
this is what you could obtain?
My whole journey is this. Like, I struggled so much when I was young, trying to figure this out. And people say to me all the time, what book did you read, or what was your epiphany, or what happened
What's
for you?
your recipe?
Right, what made you get it? And the truth is, you never really get it. You never arrive at that. I'm a constant student with this. But the whole point is I've never read any relationship books in my life. I've never read any self-help books, like Power of Now, He's Okay, You're Okay. I've never read any of these types of books. I've never taken, not because I don't think they're good, but I'm interested in reading history books, for instance, or something else. So my only instruction, I never had a teacher, I never had a hero, never had a mentor that said, I'll teach you how to hold an axe, and I'll teach you how to drive a car, and I'll teach you how to talk to a woman. I didn't have it. So I invented it. I had to invent myself. And my entire everything I've ever learned, and the only thing I ever say to men, is something that women have taught me. Everything I have is experiential based and curiosity based. And I ask women a million questions. I want to know, explain, tell me. And then I take that, what women say to me, and I translate it so that men understand it. And so, like, I'm a great, I have nothing original.
You're a great listener.
I'm a great translator. I can say, okay, this is what women have been trying to say for years to the men, and the men go, well, now we get it.
That is interesting, because a lot of complaints women have about men, you'll tell me what complaints men have about women, is that they don't understand, they don't listen to them. And I think that comes from the fact that you cannot go out of your own needs and your own beliefs to try to listen, to put yourself in the other one's place. How did that help your relationships?
Well, that's a good point, because, as you said, we're so caught up in our own story, in our own, analytical thinking, that when we're having a conversation, we're waiting for the other person to stop talking so we can say our next thing without really engaging or listening in. Or, the truth is, the answer to that is curiosity. Curiosity, if you're curious about the person sitting across from you, then you're engaging.
How do you keep the curiosity sparkled in time? If you are in a long-term relationship, that's something that a lot of people are complaining about, but they don't know how to do it.
Well, we get caught up in routine. I mean, this is an old story. We all know this. We get caught up in routine. and the sameness and bills and the kids and all this kind of stuff. And it's an old cliche in marriage counseling, which is communication, but it is the truth. Communication, just to speak, even if there's a confusion or feeling the boredom or feeling a routine, to say it, and not just announce that, hey, I'm feeling bored, but to announce it in a way of asking, encasing it in curiosity, surrounding it with curiosity, and by saying, I'm curious about the fact that we used to take these walks and now we're so busy with that. Let's understand this together, and where it's taking us.
What's the biggest challenge in teaching men? What is the hardest thing, or the last thing they let go of?
The hardest thing is for them to realize how simple it really is. I mean, all it's ever taken is a smile or a hello or a nod or a
Connection.
To start a relationship that lasts 60 years. That's always ever been needed. But now we think we have to have games, and we have to have an opening line, we have to have a story, we have to be interesting. And so the hardest thing for men to realize is they can let go of all of that, those layers of trying, and just show up and say, my name is so-and-so, and you look very nice, and I would like to say hello to you. Simplicity is the hardest thing for men to realize, that you don't have to have a bunch of games, and you can show up.
I think it's the same for women. We complicate everything. So you hit a nail. You just got the best point there. We are at one-to-one.ro live with Zan Perrion of Ars Amorata. We are coming back after a short break. Don't go away.
Cu tehnologia ar trebui să te înțelegi simplu ca și cu natura. De aceea nouă celor de la Dial Telecom ne place să facem lucrurile pe înțelesul tuturor. Așa că dacă ai nevoie de servicii de acces internet pe fibră sau transfer rapid de date, telefonie fixă sau soluții pentru call center, hosting sau VPN și alte lucruri ce trebuie simplificate, suntem aici pentru tine și afacerea ta 24 de ore din 24. Dial Telecom. Tehnologie cu față umană.
Back, you're listening to one-to-one.ro. Daniela Kammrath is my name, and I'm here with Zan Perrion. Zan created Ars Amorata.
Ars Amorata.
And we were saying something, and I want to continue what we talked about in the break, because it was interesting.
Yeah.
You said that what you actually teach, I mean, you tell men, and that's one of the biggest challenge for them to get, is that actually simplicity is it.
Yeah.
And I was saying that actually that is, I would say that's the same, it's valid for us as well, because we tend as women to complicate everything. But then we were talking about games, and you mentioned something, and if you could just say it again.
I will say it again. I spent years trying to learn how to seduce the heart of women, how to be that guy who knows what to say, and try to, not trickery and not manipulation, just saying the right thing to get a mood or get an experience happening or an interaction to kind of evolve in a way that I wanted to evolve. And I understood. I started to understand a lot of things. And in my last years, I want to strip all that away. I'm going to strip away all this great talk and great language and know how to talk to a woman, to get her like, whoa, who is this guy? And strip it away to the simplicity of like, I'm a man, you're a woman, and it's nice to meet you, and I just want to say hi. The simplicity of that is incredible to me, and it is the true seduction, I think.
But what happens if in a couple, just one of them has the eagerness for simplicity, and the other one wants to play games?
Yeah, the tide has to rise all the boats at the same time. The problem is this, and I'm convinced this is true, Daniela. The reason our relationships fall apart or drift apart is because we are not, because I'll say this, and I could be wrong, of course, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think a relationship can only last forever, in a good way, not just a dead relationship, but it can last forever with the spark of mischief and adoration and seduction and respect and love, if the two of them are on a spiritual journey, her separately, him separately, their own spiritual journey. And I mean, by that I mean like they are trying to become more excellent. Spiritual, I mean that in the broad sense of the word. They want to understand the nature of tango, for instance. They want, but separately, not together in the same pursuits all the time. But she's pursuing some kind of like excellence. He's pursuing excellence. Because then you're not doing the mediocre routine, watch the TV, go to job, come home, go to job, come home. And which, instead you're trying to aspire to a spiritual, a higher spiritual place. And if they do that, if they're on a journey like that, the relationship can last forever because they're evolving and changing, separately and together.
You made a few good points here, and I want to go back to the pursuit of excellence, which is something that it hit a spot with me.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that we have to evolve individually in order for us as a couple to evolve.
Yes.
And that the simplicity is the hardest might be
Yeah.
to achieve, because you're thinking, what if I really love you
Mm.
and you really love me, then we're gonna do like 90% of the
Yeah.
stuff together
Yeah.
because I miss you when I'm not with you.
Yeah.
So how does this work? What do you tell them? And then I want to go back to
Yeah.
the pursuit of excellence, because I think it hits a chord also with us Romanians, because we always say merge și așa.
Merge și
There are
așa.
a lot of occasions where you say, well, that's good enough.
Good enough.
Well, that's just not good enough.
No. Yeah, you know what it is there's no act, there's a passive element to that, which is just, I've got married now, I've got that figured out, now I'll go work on my career.
Yeah, that she doesn't matter anymore.
Well, yeah, she's taken care of, and she's saying to him, you know, like he's saying he'll say to his wife, listen, I'm doing all this, I'm working so hard for you and the kids, and she's saying, me and the kids do not want this. We want you. We want you. We don't want to have this nicer house and this kind of stuff. We want. Where's you? Where's the, they get a girlfriend or a wife and they turn their face away. Yeah, I got this covered here. And so we don't seduce our wives anymore. That's the whole point. We don't seduce our wife. How come why do our wives not feel from their husband that he's going to come home and rip off his shirt and rip off her clothes and put her on the bed? They don't feel that anymore. They used to. There was some point when they did. And I always say this, Daniela, if a man buys flowers and chocolates and nice little poems in the beginning of a relationship, and then 3 years later he's not doing those things anymore, then he kind of lied about how it's going to be. He misrepresented how he is, the relationship.
Or he stopped trying.
He stopped trying, yeah. Yeah, because it's covered. He's got that solved. Now I'm going to go try other things.
But it's very easy to become complacent.
Yes, it is. That's why...
In both sexes. I'm not saying just men do it.
I know, and that's
Wives
why...
go around without, I don't know, their hair done or
Yeah.
sloppy or with extra pounds on.
Yeah,
The ones that are not
of course.
necessarily trophy-wise, or the ones that don't
Yeah.
realize they should do it for themselves.
Yeah.
What about the pursuit of excellence? How did you come with that?
It's the pursuit...
connected, but-
Pursuit of excellence sounds too abstract. You know what it is? It's the pursuit of adventure in your heart. It doesn't mean you have to travel the world, but you can be an accountant and have 3 kids and a wife, but you still have the spirit of adventure for your family, for who you are, and she has her own a separate spirit of adventure, so that there's it's the art of living. It's the concept of being alive, no matter what our circumstances, no matter what our job, no matter what we could be in a small town somewhere and growing a garden, but there's still the spirit of where's our wild spirit? Where do we let down our hair and let the wind blow our hair? We don't have that. We've lost what we used to have when we were kids, and we're starved for it. We're starved for that kind of like spirit of mischief and danger,
Wild.
dark forest.
I actually like that pursuit of excellence from one point of view, is because, and that's because in anything you do, trying to be your best
Yes.
always provokes you,
Yes.
makes you go beyond what you're doing. It takes you out of the being a
Yes.
complacent person. So I like that because I think in the relationship is more so.
Yeah.
Because you need to reinvent it. Otherwise, it's the same thing over and over. I mean, you get bored with yourself
Of
many
course.
times.
Of course.
You throw away your clothes, you start a
Yeah.
new routine, you go to a different gym, you
Yes.
change your house.
Yeah.
How do you make people understand that doing that it's good for them and for the other ones?
Well, you said the right word, which is reinvention. You have to always reinvent yourself. You have to. Otherwise, it's mediocrity is all around. Mediocrity is catching. It's like contagious. And you have to constantly reinvent yourself. And I said what I said earlier. The spiritual journey is what makes you step on it in a different way tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And you're always following your music. You're following. Joseph Campbell said, "Follow your bliss." And really, that is like, it's not like find your purpose and all this grand mission statements of life, because people don't know. I don't know what my purpose is. I'm growing a garden, right? But to follow your bliss, which is where your heart lies, the road that you're on, is your heart on that road? And if it isn't, in your career or your relationship, if your heart is not in that path, it has to stop. But people, I say a strong message, Daniela. I say a very strong message, because we're such a self-help culture, certainly in North America. Multi-billion-dollar self-help culture of read another book, learn another affirmation, take another program. But what really has to happen is big steps. You have to take, I've been saying for years, every great life has had in it a great renunciation. You have to renounce. You have to say, this no longer serves me, and you have to renounce it with full force.
I think you have to be radical about it.
Yes, you have to be radical. And I say this message, and guys in the audience go, yeah, take notes, and then they go back and they complain about their, and they carry on. So it's very few people will have the strength to say, no more. I have to shift and go to sea.
The reason I liked when I heard you first time talking about what you're doing with Ars Amorata is the fact that I feel, and I apologize from the very beginning to all the listeners that don't feel they fit into these categories, so you have even more reasons to listen to it. I feel there are less and less men that are aware of whom they are,
Yeah.
and they feel like they're powerful and they can make a change in the world. And in this, they can inspire you as a woman to follow them because they deserve to be followed. I don't feel that in men. I don't
No.
feel they want that.
No.
I hear a lot
Yeah.
of them complaining how bitchy we are.
Yeah.
And how horrible and whatever, all the things that women also complain about. But me as a woman, I would love to find a way for them to discover how amazing it is to be proud in the sense of have the power to go forward, to reinvent,
Yeah.
to be wild in the sense of adventurous and in the sense of opening new territories.
Yeah.
I yearn for that. I would love to have that kind of man around because I think the whole society would benefit.
You're not alone, Danielle. I've talked to women all over the world, and they're saying the fundamental message is, where are the real men? Why do we have to be both? Like the women all over the world are strong and the men are not. And the women are strong because the men are not. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to lift up. And women are carrying both sides. Women are carrying both sides. The men are not. The men are weak, and the men are not showing up. They're not
Right.
showing up. Society, I don't know. We can go. Who knows?
Do you think the mothers they
Yeah.
should also work on changing the way they bring them up?
Well, the whole thing is this: a woman, like an entire generation without real strong fathers. In other words, the father was not present, or he was just not interested, that kind of thing. And so the mother raises the child. Our school system is taught by women. And so women raise boys and the way they think that they should be. But women do not know the way that boys should grow up to be. For instance, your mother will say to a boy, he wants to ride his bike and go over a jump. And she'll say, no, put your helmet on and don't go over that jump and be safe.
Yourself. Yeah.
Don't hurt yourself. If the father was there, he would say, don't worry about your mother. I'll take care of her. And come on, I'll make the jump a little higher for you. Let's go.
Challenge him.
And we don't have it. So we listen. So we grow up in the way women think that a boy should be raised. And then we have this kind of like softness in the men. And there's no real challenge. There's no challenge in our growing up. And women were raised by women.
How do you break the circle? The weak kid because of the weak parent, because of the mother they can't think as a man. Where do you start breaking the circle to rearrange this order and make it as it should be for everybody to move forward faster?
Yeah. It's important work. I mean, like what we're trying to do with Ars Amorata is to speak to men. We've been doing it for years to let men know that it's okay to be nervous as long as you show up. It's okay to not have all the answers, as long as you don't hide. Men stand around with their beers, watching women go by for years and wishing they had a girlfriend. They just wish. There's a lot of wishes. Instead of saying, I'm nervous and I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to show up anyway. And say and this is what we don't do. We wait for the women to be nice to us for once. Women are being bitchy to me all the time, and I'm blaming the women. But we don't show up as men in our integrity and our strength and our beauty, and saying, hey, I'm nervous, but you look very nice, and I would like to say hi to you. We don't do it. In fact, women have told me everywhere from Mexico to Sweden, why do we have to initiate? I'm single. I go out somewhere with my girlfriends, and I wear a nice little outfit. And the men stand around. And am I supposed to go talk to him? Am I supposed to initiate the conversation? Because the men are not. The men are standing around. And so the women, modern woman feels like she has to approach the men because they're not approaching her.
Because they don't take action.
Right? So she has to. And the problem with that is, with women, if they're the one that initiates, then there's some small respect lost for him because where was he? How come I had to do both your job and my job? I have to put my feminine invitation into the world, and then I have to follow it up by approaching you. So yeah, it's around the world.
It's around the world. Well, that's good. We don't feel discriminated. You're listening to Zan Perrion at one-to-one.ro live. We're coming back after a short break. Don't go away.
Am soluția perfectă pentru tine. La birou sau acasă, izvorulcristalin.ro. Testează acum gratuit timp de 7 zile watercoolerul cu sistem de încălzire și răcire a apei. Izvorul Cristalin 021 351 4255. Izvorul Cristalin. Apa pură la cel mai bun preț. Izvorulcristalin.ro. De 5 ani împreună.
So today is a different kind of show. It's still one-to-one.ro live, but it's in English because we have a dear guest here with us, Zan Perrion. Zan created Ars Amorata 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And even more so. And your mission is to bring back the art of seduction and the art of living powerful, passionate, and being romantic again. When did this become frivolous to be romantic, or when did this become not appropriate? Why do men feel like they're more masculine if they're not necessarily romantic?
Well, I think, the romance of it, in my mind, is, I mean, why does a man go to sea? Why do the Bedouins ride across the desert on fast horses? It's for romance. Men want and desire romance in their heart. It's the romance of living a life well lived. You're romancing yourself and romancing the woman in your life. And everyone wants to be caught up in that energy because it's a romantic, adventurous energy. And, you know, romance is, I think romance has been kind of like made small, the definition of it, to like just greeting cards and a rose on Valentine's Day and romance and it's the simplicity of that. But it's romance to me is a bigger thing than that. It is like being caught up in something greater than ourselves. And the problem with modern man is that they get a girlfriend, they start to see a girl, and then she becomes his adventure. So, and I've been saying for years that women do not want to be the adventure. They want to be caught up. They want to go on an adventure. And a man will heading in this direction. He meets a girl, and now he puts his full attention on her, and he loses sight of where he's going and his passion, and she becomes the whole message and the whole reason that he lives. And it's too much for women. It's too much for anybody. So, it's the adventure and romance to me are like one word. Yeah.
And also, I think the fact that being romantic has a connotation of weak might be also a problem for the more macho guy.
Yeah.
We have a question, actually. I was just saying nobody's asking questions. Somebody's asking what is going to happen tomorrow at tomorrow's event. So we should talk about that a bit. And do you intend making regular meetings, or it's the beginning of something bigger?
That's a good question. I mean, I've been in Romania for 3 years, almost 4 years, and I've done talks in Romania before. I've talked in front of 100 people, 30 people. I talked in front of a women's group, only women's group, in Romania. But most of our stuff is international. I mean, we're based here. And 2 weeks ago, for instance, Hans and I, my business partner, we went to Zurich, Switzerland, and we did a presentation there. So we travel, we base here, and then we travel out. And it's interesting because, this is an interesting thing, Daniela. The men in Romania want to understand these types of things too. But they don't want to show up at events. More than other countries.
So you should do them online.
Exactly.
So they have to show up their face.
Yeah, so tomorrow night we're giving a free presentation, a free talk. It's going to be me introducing what we're doing in the world, explaining what we're doing. Hans will be there, and he'll talk about Ars Amorata as well. And we're introducing Anton Gabriel, who's from Constanza, and he's been following us for Ars Amorata for 6 years, and he has a passion to share it with the Romanian people. So we're introducing him there and just kind of like saying, this is who we are. This is what we've been doing for years. This is the great message that we're trying to present to the world, and we're excited about it. And here's your introduction to it, and we'll just tell you some of the details of it. And so it's an introduction to it, and just, I don't know, sharing. We're just going to share what we're doing.
Do you feel that they don't want to show, men don't really want to show up because there are also women present? If it would be only men's event, would be a difference?
No, at this talk, men don't care if women are here at a presentation. But men do not want women to know, for instance, that they want to get coached. They don't want it, so they're very quiet about that. Not because they think it's a bad thing what they're learning, but because they're ashamed that they might need help. They don't want anybody to see that, right?
Any champion has a trainer.
Of course.
Any champion has somebody that gives him support. So
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, then I just want those men that go to those places. They would be more open.
I did something in Montreal years ago, and it was going to be, I don't know, a small paid event. I can't remember exactly. But I had this idea. I'm going to get some girls to go around with little flyers, like they do in the old city here, and hand out these flyers to men as they walk by, and invite them to come to this thing. And it backfired on me. because the men would take this flyer from the pretty girl, and they're looking at it, and they want to go, but they can't go now because they don't want to show that they. So they put it in their back pocket. Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you. And they told me after I wanted to come, but I didn't want people to know I wanted to come, because I don't want to look like I need help. I'm the strong, confident.
So how did you do it?
Well, now we still did it, and there was still a bunch of people. But for instance, if I speak at a university, if I lecture at a university, if it's just a free lecture for the students of the university, with posters up and whatever, 70% will be girls, and 30% guys. And then the guys come up to me after that didn't go and say, I really wanted to come to your talk, but they don't want to look with their university students that they need help with girls. They want to be confident. So the girls come because they're very curious, and the guys, they stay away because they're embarrassed to show that they might have a question. It's funny.
What is the one thing that you still don't know about women?
One thing I still don't know about women. I still, this is a great question. And what I still don't completely understand, I think, is, and I've been just thinking about it for a lot of years, is the real true role that women desire.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And, because, like, what is their true heart's desire for their role in life, in relationship, as a mother, as a career woman?
Because you declare something, you want something else, you act differently.
Yeah, I've talked to women all over the world, who are CEOs of companies, real estate agents in Beverly Hills, Hollywood and stuff. They have very powerful, accomplished women who have really succeeded in life. And you know what they tell me when I talk to them? Because I do. They say that they would give it all up for a romance. They would give it up to have that feeling, to feel swept off their feet and feel like have adventure and spirit in their life again.
So there are accomplished people, business-wise, that realize that they missed in that personal relationship.
Yeah.
Are there people that take coaching or training in relationships with you in the art of seduction and feel like also their business life improves or their business?
Oh yeah, because this, like our seminars and our talks and our whole message, the whole philosophy, if you read my book, for instance, it's about men and about women, but really it isn't. And none of our work really is about women. A man says, I want to get girls, and so I'm going to come to your workshop because I want to learn how to get a girl or a girlfriend. But that's a small part of what we're really talking about. We're talking about what is the essence of man that makes him move through life so that women notice him and say there's something about him, as opposed to how to get a phone number, all the little tiny details. So it is far greater than that. But if I put up a website that was authenticity.com, hey, we're going to teach you how to be authentic, how to connect with people. Guys will say, well, yeah, I want that eventually, but I want to get a girlfriend this weekend. So, you know what I'm saying? So it is all about authenticity. I've been saying for years that honesty is the greatest aphrodisiac. But
you gotta be powerful for that, strong.
Yes, exactly. As I have empathy and respect and the full spectrum in there. The problem is guys are looking for a quick fix. They solve the problem now, this weekend. I want to solve it, and it has little to do with women.
I actually think there might be just a problem of not taking really charge of who you really are, because it's much easier to solve the immediate issue and how you said it, quick fix.
Quick fix.
It's easier for that than to look very.
Yeah, but it doesn't work, Daniela.
Of course it doesn't.
It doesn't even work, the quick fix. You think it works, and then it doesn't work. And you're still lonely. You still don't have anybody in your life, and you learn some pickup tricks or pickup lines, and you still don't have a woman that says, well, I really like this guy, and I care about him.
But this is the same discussion we have among us women,
Uh-huh.
and I've been doing, and I've been promoting femininity courses for like 2 years now with a friend of mine, Oana Stojanovic, and I've been to 7 of those courses and hundreds of meetings. I've met thousands of women at those meetings, and we have the same issue.
Yeah.
If I want a man to like me, and I have no idea who I am and what I want and what I like about me and what I don't like about me, like you said,
Yeah.
do I know do I know the answer to your question? What do I want? What my role
Exactly.
is? If I don't know this, how do I expect that the next foot from us, the next chevalier on the white horse,
Yeah.
would make me happy?
And that's the number one question. I don't know either. And I've talked to thousands of women.
No, because it's very particular
Yeah.
answer, and I think each of us has a different definition of that. But that is something that only you can do with yourself.
yeah.
I think people, that's why they would, I would say that's the primary reason for which people run away when you put authenticity anywhere.
Yeah.
It's because you gotta be honest with yourself, because you are
Yeah.
the first person you lie to. You know, you wake up and say, well, even when you have the best
Yeah.
girlfriend and she looks exactly how you dreamed, you have the right car,
Yeah.
you got the right address in your, you don't live in a garsoniera with a convertible block of flats. It's like you have everything, and you
Yeah.
might not be happy for that reason because you have no idea what you want.
Oof,
So
that's for
I
sure.
like this discussion. We only have a little bit left of our show. We take a short break and we come back with the conclusions.
Cu tehnologia ar trebui să te înțelegi simplu ca și cu natura. De aceea nouă celor de la Dial Telecom ne place să facem lucrurile pe înțelesul tuturor. Așa că dacă ai nevoie de servicii de acces internet pe fibră sau transfer rapid de date, telefonie fixă sau soluții pentru call center, hosting sau VPN și alte lucruri ce trebuie simplificate, suntem aici pentru tine și afacerea ta 24 de ore din 24. Dial Telecom. Tehnologie cu față umană.
The last few minutes with Zan Perrion, the creator, the founder of this movement, as I like to call it, Ars Amorata. You've been traveling the world, and there's good news and bad news. The good news is that we all have the same issues and problems,
Yeah.
men and women. The bad news is that unless we work to solve those, we're going to continue to have those problems. So let's talk a little bit about about the event tomorrow night that is
Okay.
at Bordello's in the Lipscan area. It starts at
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. What do you want to achieve at such a short, 1-2 hours event? What do you hope to get, to feel? What do you hope to transmit to the people that show up?
It is a short time, and the greatest result that I could have from that would be that the people in the audience who come will realize that there's some good things happening and there's some good things being said, and that their questions, that they're not alone in their questions, and that we have committed our lives, we're devoted our lives to creating a better conversation between men and women. And if they can go away with just the idea that there's something great that's being tried, there's a movement that's trying to be created, and I can be part of that. If they go away knowing what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to do in the world, what we've been doing for 10 years, what we can do for the next 10 years, if they go away with that in their heart and say, I want to be caught up in that too, then we're successful. I mean, we can talk about men and women, the dynamic of men and women, the disconnect between men and women tomorrow night, a lot. But really we want to talk in a broad way to say, what is possible? We want to paint a picture of a horizon out there that we can see. Can you see it too? Let's all go that direction. That's the whole idea. So that's the goal.
Yeah, and I think you pointed out really a powerful thing. This is not about domination. The people that think that this is who's more powerful in a couple, they are miserable.
Yeah.
They totally, I mean, they fail. It's about growing and supporting each other, because then your relationship is better. And that happens in a business partnership, in anything.
Yeah.
I told you earlier what I wish to see more into the man around me. And I'll just briefly say it again. I would like them to give up being coward. I like them to be powerful,
Yeah.
to have courage, to have the spirit of adventure,
Yeah.
to not to be afraid to fail,
Yeah.
because that doesn't say anything about them. I salute people that can make a mock of themselves but trying, and that they have a self-deprecating sense of humor.
Yeah.
What do you like in women, or what would you like to see more in women?
Wow. What I would like to see more of in women is to, like I said, it's hard for women because men are not being strong, so women are strong. But you know, I wrote a whole book about feminine grace, about the female spirit, because just like women are starved for the true strength of masculinity, the things you just said, strong, confident, but vulnerable, self-deprecating humor, that's masculine strength, which men largely don't have. The same thing that we're desiring from the women, which is the feminine strength, which is all the life-giving, nourishing, rebirthing elements that women bring to the world. We're like, men are starved for that too. Women are starved for the strength of men, and men are starved for the life-giving spirit of women. Instead, we're all take, and what can you do for me? And where are we going to be in 5 years? And our relationships are all suspicious. And I said, I love you, and you didn't say, I love you back. And what is?
Too soon.
It's too soon. And instead of like celebrating the art of being together in that moment, and maybe that moment lasts for 60 years. So there's a, how should I say that? There's a rebirthing spirit of women, which makes men feel like they can go fight the battles, feel like they can stand on this earth because they're supported. It's a support, like they're supported in their journey with the greatness of the enveloping spirit of the female spirit. I mean, like, I think the whole world is missing. I think the whole world is very masculine. You know, we have catastrophes and natural disasters and wars and it's a strong and everybody, all the books that are being sold now are how to be a business person, entrepreneur, all this, you know, these great things, but it's a very masculine energy. It's a very masculine, heavy type of thing that isn't balanced with the great spirit of the feminine nature. So yeah, it's a big battle. It's like
very interesting. So can you tell me if you feel that the awakening of the femininity will going to create an awakening of the masculinity?
For sure. One of the last phrases I say in my book is, we cannot have a strong men's movement without a strong women's movement. We can't do it without women. And there's entire organizations of men out there who go into the forest and they paint their faces and they beat drums, and we take the power back from women. Women are the enemy and men have to stand strong again. That's misguided. That's a bad energy. That's a strong, controlling. Instead of saying we can be a strong force of nature as men, if we have this great sweeping wind of women behind us and blowing our hair.
Or beside you. And I think actually that is very beautiful metaphor. You want to be strong, but not in the jungle, guys. You want to be strong in the suit, nicely. Maybe even with a flower in your hair.
Maybe wear a tie now and then.
Yeah, that's when you want to be strong, and that's when you're going to also be loved. Zan, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Daniela.
My habit, our habit here in the studio is one more phrase, one more idea to leave it to sit it in the mind of our listeners, and that's our show.
Okay. Well, for the men listening out there, don't be afraid to just show up. Just show up. That's what women are missing. For the women out there, always remember beauty needs a witness, and that's the role. That's what we're trying to create, witnesses of beauty, and then you can show up in your beauty.
Thank you, Zan. And don't forget, your awakening is the awakening, your soul, your spirit,
and read my book. Read my book.
Yes, you can have it on Amazon. I think you can get it from the Amazon. The Alabaster Girl with Zan Perrion. You can find it in the one-to-one.ro editorial today, or I even think that Loredana put it on the screen during our show. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can find Zan on Facebook.
Wonderful.
Ars Amorata is also on Facebook.
Yes. Arsamorata.com.
And the website, true.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid and just show up. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Cu tehnologia ar trebui să te înțelegi simplu ca și cu natura. De aceea nouă celor de la Dial Telecom ne place să facem lucrurile pe înțelesul tuturor. Așa că dacă ai nevoie de servicii de acces internet pe fibră sau transfer rapid de date, telefonie fixă sau soluții pentru call center, hosting sau VPN și alte lucruri ce trebuie simplificate, suntem aici pentru tine și afacerea ta 24 de ore din 24. Dial Telecom. Tehnologie cu față umană.
Evenimentele live sunt la Lynx.
Străinii spun despre noi că suntem o țară cu femei frumoase și inteligente.
Noi considerăm că România e o țară de femei senzaționale.
Întâlnește-le în fiecare săptămână la 121.ro live la radiolinks.ro.